A good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. Our hope is that you had a very productive Thursday. Now here's a sneak peek at our edition tonight. For the 11th consecutive year, the pillar of security has ranked highest in Rwanda's governance scorecard, as revealed by the Rwanda Governance Board (RGB) on Thursday. The National Bank of Rwanda has maintained its central bank rate at 6.5%. According to the bank, 6.5% is a level considered adequate to keep inflation within the target range. On the international scale, Amazon Web Services recently announced through its Image grant a $10 million fund for nonprofits to help them utilize cloud technology and artificial intelligence to combat health disparities. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and I bringing you the news is Martina Abera. As we begin this edition of the news, let us inform you that on Thursday afternoon at Village Urugwiro, President Paul Kagame received His Excellency Simon Juwak Deng, outgoing ambassador of South Sudan to Rwanda, as he concludes his tour of duty. The ambassador began his tour back in January 2023 with residence in Kampala, Uganda. Moving ahead, Governance Scorecard as revealed by the Rwanda Governance Board (RGB) on Thursday. This rating reflects the strong trust Rwandans place in the security institutions and underscores the commitment of President Paul Kagame to ensure national security as the foundation for the country's development. With an impressive 93.82%, the security pillar remains the most celebrated among the 8 pillars evaluated in the Governance Scorecard. RGB attributes this consistent performance to the professionalism of security agencies and the confidence citizens have in their operations. Citizens, particularly those living near border areas, commend the robust security that allows them to focus on activities that improve their livelihoods. President Kagame has repeatedly emphasized security as a cornerstone of development, calling for professionalism and integrity among security personnel during his regular engagements with them.
Muzakomeze kugira discipline iranga ingabo zacu.
Continue showcasing the discipline that has become the hallmark of our forces, the RDF, because that discipline, selflessness and skills do not belong to just you as individuals, but also to the country as a whole. Remember always that your responsibilities, be it here within the country or abroad as part of international peacekeeping missions, should always show those qualities about you, as is the norm.
Bibagaragaraho nkuko bisanzwe.
The 4 indicators within this security pillar: national security, individual and property security, security preservation, and unity and reconciliation, scored between 80% and 100%, affirming the consistent and comprehensive efforts in safeguarding the nation's stability. This achievement not only highlights the efficiency of Rwanda's governance system, but also reflects the seamless link between peace, trust, and sustainable development in the country. In the 11th Governance Scorecard survey in Rwanda, it was revealed that the pillar of service delivery quality scored 75.79%, while the national target is to achieve a score of 90%. Agricultural services are among the factors that contributed to this lower score. Farmers have emphasized the need for improvements in these services to enhance their efficiency. With approximately 70% of Rwandans relying on agriculture, agricultural and livestock services are critical and widely sought after across the country. However, farmers have highlighted areas where these services need to be refined. These challenges faced by farmers are among the reasons the service delivery quality pillar ranked 7th out of 8 pillars in the governance scorecard published by the Rwanda Governance Board. The research further indicated that 53% of the citizens are satisfied with agricultural services, while 68.33% are satisfied with livestock services. However, the national goal is for 90% of citizens to be satisfied with the services they receive. Dr. Felicien Usengumukiza, Deputy CEO of RGB, explained some of the reasons behind the low scores in the agricultural and livestock sectors, particularly in how citizens perceive the service delivered. The governance scorecard revealed that the service delivery quality pillar scored 75.79%, with 4 out of its 5 sub-indicators scoring between 60 to 79.9%. This places the pillar in the yellow zone, which indicates a need for improvement. Dr. Ojielo Ozonia, the UN resident coordinator in Rwanda, commended the self-assessment approach adopted by Rwanda for governance. He emphasized the need for more effort in areas that scored lower.
What does it then mean for us? It does mean that a launch like this is important symbolism for the direction. What is more important for me is then the dialogues that follow this kind of launch at different levels, sector working group levels, thematic levels, different kinds of platforms, to ask ourselves, what does it mean for us in our sector? What does it mean for us as a country? What does it mean going ahead in the context of NSC2? And then a third issue, of course, is the issue of citizen engagement. So the laws and instruments might exist that allows, say, for example, access to information for media defenders. But the operationalization then becomes problematic. So if a law has existed since 2016, as Mr. Habineza mentioned, and hasn't been operationalized, then let's put our hand to the plow and have the dialogue in the different sectors, what needs to happen to operationalize it. What it does is more confidence for the citizens, but what it does is that Rwanda is self-confident in its own internal processes, that it operationalizes the decisions it has made, and it's not in response to what views or what views that others from anywhere else might have. So these are ways that help us to strengthen where we want to go as a nation. Finally, as us United Nations system. So first we say the national ambition is our ambition. So NSC2 is very ambitious to go. Done as a United Nations system, it's our own document, we call it the Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. Our own cooperation framework is also very ambitious.
The study highlighted key areas that require improvement to boost the performance of the service delivery pillar. These include social welfare services, such as economic services, service delivery, quantity in public institutions, private entities, and civil society organizations, technology-enabled service delivery. The National Bank of Rwanda has maintained its central bank rate at 6.5%. According to the bank, 6.5% is a level considered adequate to keep inflation within this target range. Story by William Evans Mutabazi.
November 2024, the Monetary Policy Committee of the National Bank of Rwanda met to decide the central bank rate for the next quarter. The committee reported that, as anticipated, inflation in the third quarter remained within the target range.
All the components of inflation, so we saw reduction in the in core inflation, mainly linked to core food, rice, sugar. We saw that reducing. Energy inflation slightly increased, mainly because of the base effect of solid fuel. The prices were very low in the same quarter last year. And fresh food has really reduced because of, one also has some base effect, high inflation on food in this period last year, but also good performance of agriculture from the first 2 seasons of this year.
The Financial Stability Committee also convened its quarterly meeting, in which it evaluated the system's performance and its ability to absorb potential shocks.
The committee noted continued increase in assets of the financial sector, increasing by 23% in the first 9 months of this year. And in fact, not just increase, but also increase deepening of the financial sector as the percentage of assets of the financial sector to GDP continue to increase, standing at 68.2%. This was mainly driven by increased earnings from last year that were retained and increased deposits, also increased contributions, and in some the non-bank sector we had some increase in capital. So that is mainly the drivers of the increase in the assets of the overall financial sector.
In the short and medium term, the financial sector is expected to remain strong, supported by the strong capital, ample liquidity buffers, and efficient operations, among others. William Evans, Mtabazi, RTV News.
Researchers from various countries, mainly from Africa, are studying the issue of climate change and ways to use renewable energy sources that do not harm the environment. We have more of this story from Enora Gladys.
These researchers are engaged in discussions in Kigali to assess the challenges still faced in implementing policies aimed at combating climate change. Participants in this dialogue say that this allows them to identify areas where they should focus their efforts to solve issues faced by the public, including clean energy alternatives.
It's a meeting of a dialogue about energy and the climate change. They help our center, African Center of Excellence in Energy for Sustainable Development, to get different ideas from different researchers from Rwanda, from industry, and from the student. Here we have a good discussion, and we know how to resolve this problem about climate change, the problem related to renewable energy. We get a different idea from different stakeholders. They help the center. As a center, we have the program of masters and PhD work about renewable energy, electrical power system, energy economics. Every year we have different topics for the student who do the masters or PhD. When you have this kind of meeting, they help the center to know which the actual problem that face the Rwanda and the world in general, and they help to orient our research, to have our research orientation where there is a problem, and they can make effort to try to solve the problem that related to energy and climate change.
The good thing about this event is all about policy makers, policy changes, because in any country you cannot enforce anything without policies. So this is like a message to them whenever they go to these big meetings. Please do these kind of things.
The associate professor at Chalmers University of Technology, who is also the organizer of this dialogue, highlighted that there is still a lot to be done in Africa and even worldwide, but first the results of the strategies implemented must be reviewed.
Now we're starting to have some results. So we have one project that has been concluded that we're sharing results from today, another one where we are really getting to the heart of the key challenges, and that is around 1.5 years into the project. And that project is really about innovating in the policy arena. And because that is the goal, we need to have the dialogue. We must have all the stakeholders part of this discussion, because our plan is to, over the years coming, share again and again to hear the feedback and to also give them insights. One of the problems we are addressing is the difficulty of policy coordination. This is a challenge everywhere. We have traditionally put the energy policy in one sector together with Ministry of Industry or Mining, for example, and we've had environmental government, the environmental ministry separate. Same with maybe a lack of integrating with agriculture issues, questions around land use. And the climate policy is also being conducted partly separate from energy policy. So one of the key things is to bring these actors to the table to share their different challenges and ways of working, such that we can start to overcome the barriers. It is the same thing that academia has not sufficiently been in conversation with the industry and with the government. So we have to be very proactive and invite in order for them to know that we have something to offer. And then we want to bring high quality research about what is actually happening on the ground, the impact of policy as it is today, to understand what is working well and what is not working. Send that message back to policymakers, because they don't necessarily have the time themselves to find out the impact of their policies.
The government's program in Rwanda is for every citizen to use renewable energy to avoid polluting the environment, as this helps to reduce the number of people doing deforestation. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora, for that report. Human resource managers in various organizations have been urged to prioritize the welfare of their employees and align it with global trends to enhance the future of work. Kigali is hosting a 3-day conference bringing together HR managers from both public and private institutions across Africa. Participants at the event have highlighted the value of sharing experiences and using the platform to learn innovative approaches to effective human resource management. Rwanda's Minister of Public Service and Labor, Christine Nkurikiinka, encouraged attendees to improve workforce management, emphasizing that it is the foundation for the development of their organizations and the country at large. This conference, held for the first time, has brought together over 500 HR professionals from across Africa and beyond. Thank you for sticking with us on RwandaTV News, and welcome back to other stories making headlines on the global scene. Amazon Web Services recently announced through its Imagine grant a $10 million fund for nonprofits to help them utilize cloud technology and artificial intelligence to combat health disparities. As the recipient of some of the funds, the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation plans to use the funds to enhance generative AI and cloud tech for pediatric research and support health workers fighting HIV and AIDS in Malawi, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. VOA's Paul Ndiho spoke to Dr. Shabir Ismail from the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation for a look into how the funds will be used to help improve the lives of Africans.
This initiative, which the Amazon Web Services collaborates with ECPAF, the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation, Amazon has one of its objectives really in terms of, using some of the cloud technologies to improve healthcare, the quality of healthcare. And ECPAF, its mission primarily is really for eradication of pediatric HIV, for AIDS-free generation, would like to use technologies to improve quality of care. And this is a perfect opportunity where the tech companies and implementing partners come together to do that. So that's what we are working, and we're working on developing a number of AI models, generative models, predictive models that we are currently working on. And ECPAF is a recipient of the first, actually the 3 grants from Amazon Web Services.
Interesting. You seem to be doing a lot of work in Malawi. Your generative AIs are already working out there. How can this help people, especially people who are fighting this HIV/AIDS, the people who work in that space? How can generative AI help them to do their jobs better?
So basically, what generative AI does is that it really helps the healthcare workers in guiding them in making a better clinical decision making, because it provides, for example, for interpreting the diagnostics, the imaging, for example, so it quickly can read X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and so forth. So it's really used for screening, and especially for children. Now this is being worked on. WHO is working on. Particularly for adults, this is already a validated technology. It really helps to propose a personalized and customized support. a treatment plan for kids and mothers. And it also really helps by making the services really available, accessible, 24/7. Now, all these virtual systems, AI-powered telemedicine now really helps. So 24/7 mothers and children have, they can, for their emergencies, for others, AI tools are now, taking over. So this is really it's revolutionizing actually healthcare for patients. Appointment and medical management. So this. Yeah.
How about in situations where most of the hospitals, most of the people who deal with patients come from rural areas, people who are dealing with HIV are usually not privileged to have a lot of information. How does generative AI, or how do you plan to use this in terms of collecting data for some of these patients?
So for collection of data, most of now our patients, most of our population in Africa now, I mean, smartphones are very much well used, so they're there, in any rural part, we do have the smartphones, and so AI-powered, apps are in the smartphones, and then the patients get, messages, appointment reminders, and they can also communicate with those, with the clinicians, and so and those are linked to the medical record system. So that way, patients know what their conditions, they can communicate, they have their health records, and those data, again, can be also captured through the various systems in which we can use.
So you're leveraging on existing technology but bringing in these new tools, and you've had success in Malawi. Can this be replicated in other places?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. What has been done in Malawi, Malawi is one of the, resource limited countries, and so the national patient level electronic medical record and health information ecosystem that has been built in Malawi, there is no reason that cannot be built in other African countries, provided that there is a political will and there is a political commitment and the donor commitment implement. This definitely can be done. Something done in Malawi, surely it can be done in other sub-Saharan African countries.
That VOA story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we close off, let's have a quick recap of our headlines. For the 11th consecutive year, the pillar of security has ranked highest in Rwanda's governance scorecard, as revealed by the Rwanda Governance Board on Thursday. The National Bank of Rwanda has maintained its central bank rate at 6.5%. And on the international scale, Amazon Web Services recently announced through its Imagine grant a $10 million fund for nonprofits to help them utilize cloud technology and artificial intelligence to combat health disparities. On behalf of the news production team, as well as the technical team, would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. Who brought to you the news is Martina Abera. Stay safe and have a great night.